As part of the technology series, as in when I'm discussing, especially useful for the business analyst professionals, followed by even technical team, right? So our new learners of technology. It's always important for us to understand about the different file formats. In this regard, I have taken an example of a file format which is for XML. Here you can see over here because this is what something XML file looks like, right? So before I'm going into the explanation about an XML file and how to read that, let me explain you what exactly XML is all about. XML in short, which is called extensible markup language, which is majorly used to store the kind of data, whatever the data we are working on in the project and all. If you want to store the data, generally these XML files and all, everything are being used so that whatever the kind of custom tags do we have in XML, because we have different custom tags are there in generally for XML and all. So using the XML, the custom tags and all, whatever the kind of program were written by us and all, everything can be read by us well in advance. Normally, when we talk about XML, when we try to understand about the XML from the context of the type of the XML we have, right? So normally XML types will be categorized into two different things, like two type of XML files will be there. So one is about XML schemas and all, and second is we call it as DTDs, right? So these are the two different files will be there. Generally, XML is all about. Majorly, XML is the one which majorly support us for information exchange, which is between the computer system as well as like when you are creating any kind of websites, right? So if you are kind of creating any kind of third-party apps, or is there any kind of databases we are creating, if you want to support information exchange between the computer systems and all, normally this XML code, right? So XML code is what something which normally we write. So whenever we write the XML files, it's always important for us to understand about what are the different schemas which are being used in this XML. At the same time, we must be knowing about how the tags are being used, because different XML tags will be there. So the tags also we need to understand. Followed by this, if you want to transmit the data, right? So if you want to store the data or transmit the data, or else if you want to reconstruct the data, whatever we have, because that has to be defined. These are all will be defined based on the set of rules for encoding documents in a format so that anyone can read, right? So this is where generally XML is what something which is used here. Now, before I'm going to explain you about the code, let me explain you who are going to use the XML and where this is being used. Normally, XML is the file format which is majorly used in the front-end development, because whenever there are front ends, we develop using HTML, CSS, JavaScripts, or Angular, JS and all. Whenever we are developing front-end development, majorly use this XML files and all everything. At the same time, even for the back-end development also will be used. For example, if you are developing any back-end web development and all, as in when we are using different APIs, either it can be web API, SOAP API, or RESTful API and all. Majorly APIs and all, which are used to communicate between two applications or two systems, like to transfer the data in a standard format. In that regard also, generally XML is what something which normally we do. Now, when we try to understand about the XML, this is what a sample XML file we have taken, because this is an XML file which majorly explains, right? So the kind of tags are we going to use and all that. So how this XML file to be understood with, right? So if you have taken XML as a name followed by the email ID and all everything were taken. So this is what and how generally we have to be mentioned. For example, you want to know about the author, right? So you want to know about what their name, right? So what will be the age of that particular author, right? So if you want to know about all that stuff, generally this is what and how usually XML code will be. So understanding as well as understanding the XML file and whatever the required changes subsequently you want to make in this is always important for us when we are working on the data migration projects, because especially now and then importance of XML has increased a lot due to this reason. Because when we are working on the applications nowadays, most of the projects were data migration projects. So when we are migrating the projects from other legacy systems to the new cloud applications, all that, whatever the new file formats, we are using JSON, right? So XML, right? So these are the different things we are using. Here you can see JSON is a file which normally use. So JSON at the same time XML, right? So different file formats are being used. In this regard, if there is any kind of changes you want to make in the existing XML file, so that it can be upgraded or updating this in regular intervals. So for that reason, it is always important for this is it is always important as well as useful for us whenever we are working on this application. It's always important for us to edit the data, whatever the data do we have, and how you are going to format this, how you are going to interpret this data, and how to run the XML files and all everything is what something which being a technical person as well as the business analyst teams and all everything were required to understand. So as in when as I told you, right, this is a code which I have taken especially for you to understand, right? So to have an understanding over the author followed by the name, right? So what will be the age? What was the age of another, followed by his email ID, right? So in this regard, this is how generally the file which normally we write. So if you want to make any kind of changes in this existing file, what we have created, we always have a choice where we can make some changes in the existing one. Subsequently, whatever the required changes you want to make, so that we can make the changes and we can see it here, right? So here we can see, so whatever the required file formats you are creating, right? So whatever the required file formats, we need to understand all that, right? So all these things we can do it. At the same time, if you want to change any kind of occurrences and all everything, we can do the occurrences, etc. At the same time, if there is any kind of changes which is to be made into the existing XML file, we can do the XML changes and all everything when and wherever it is needed. This is what and how usually XML files looks like, which is majorly used when we are working on data migration projects and all, and how to read the XML file and how to make necessary changes in the XML is all about. Majorly, predominantly, this is used by BA team now and then, technical BA roles, followed by even technical team should also know about XML, right? XML web services, JSON, right? So these are all something are important for any projects while we are working. This is all about this video. If you have any questions, please reach out.